Before boarding Marine One this Friday morning to begin his journey to Atlanta, Georgia to deliver remarks at the Black Voices for Trump Coalition rollout, President Donald Trump was asked on the South Lawn of the White House about the released depositions of career State Department officials.
I'm not concerned about anything. The testimony has all been fine. I mean, for the most part, I never even heard of these people. I have no idea who they are. They're some very fine people. You have some never-Trumpers. It seems that nobody has any first-hand knowledge. There is no first-hand knowledge. And all that matters is one thing, the transcript. And the transcript is perfect.
Trump spoke of his view of the whole impeachment process.
Well, you know what it is, really? It's a crooked deal. This is like the fake dossier. This is like everything else. These are crooked people. They lost an election, and they lost it big. It was really a landslide from the Electoral College standpoint. And they lost it big, and they still haven't recovered, and they're going to lose again. And what they're trying to do is weaken me, but it's actually made me stronger. And interestingly, if you look at the polls that just came out, my polls are up. The fundraising is through the roof. It's never been this high. We just said fundraising.
Note, Trump won by less than 800,000 votes in 3 Rust Belt states. Hardly a landslide. Also, the whistleblower's complaint had been confirmed on all details, so much so that the House Intelligence Committee is no longer seeking his or her testimony.
Every one of those people cancel themselves out. So
Trump seems to be canceling out himself.
let's find 10 people that hate President Trump the most, and let's put them up.
One way to dissuade would-be cooperating witnesses from testifying in the impeachment probe delving into the weird trajectory of current U.S.-Ukraine policy is to open a criminal inquiry into those who had previously collaborated with Special Counsel Robert Mueller investigating Russian interference into the 2016 presidential election.
Trump was then asked,
You didn't ask them, why would you ask the president of Ukraine to do something you weren't willing to ask your own Justice Department?
We are looking for corruption. We're giving hundreds of millions of dollars, and we're looking for corruption. And quiet.
Did you ask your DOJ?
Quiet. Quiet.
Another reporter asked if Trump had asked
Barr to hold a press conference exonerating President
Saying
Trump.
anything. Let me just tell you, I never asked him for a press conference. It's fake news by the Washington Post, which is a fake newspaper. It's fake, it's made up. And if I asked Bill Barr to have a press conference, I think he'd do it. But I never.
When pressed why he hadn't released the summary of an earlier phone call from April 21st with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky shortly after he won the election, Trump retreated into a sputtering delirium.
Well, they don't want to give all this information on a scam. It's a witch hunt. I'm okay with releasing it. It doesn't bother me. I know what I said, it was fine. But no, they do want to have the second call, which is really the first call, the one before this. I had a call. I'm sure it was fine. I mean, you know, I make a lot of calls. But I have no problem releasing it.
Trump continued.
I'm very transparent. Nobody is more transparent than I am. And if I wasn't, and if I didn't release it, it would have been a problem. Because the fake whistleblower said something about the call, many things that were wrong. When the whistleblower came forward, he talked about this horrible call. It turned out to be a perfect call, as I say. Mark Levin said this was a perfect call. So they lied. They lied. The whole thing is a scam. This is a scam by the Democrats to try and win an election. Now they want.
Trump ranted on the whistleblower.
And I'll tell you, the whistleblower, I call him the fake whistleblower. He gave a fake report of my phone call. And when I did it, all of a sudden, when I released that call, all of a sudden everybody disappeared. The whistleblower disappeared. Whatever happened to the second whistleblower?
In response to this show of defiance by the president, House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff penned a letter later that day to Ranking Member Devin Nunes, reading in part, "The impeachment inquiry, moreover, has gathered an ever-growing body of evidence from witnesses and documents, including the president's own words in his July 25th call record, that not only confirms, but far exceeds the initial information in the whistleblower's complaint. The whistleblower's testimony is therefore redundant and unnecessary. In light of the president's threats, the individual's appearance before us would only place their personal safety at grave risk." The whistleblower remains a prime target of Trump as the MAGA army lobs salvos from many sides simultaneously. And, of course, his fearsome Twitter feed with over 65 million followers.
The lawyer was so compromised because the lawyer's the bad guy.
The
So you look at
whistleblower's
that, I thought
attorney,
that was
Andrew
the end of it.
Bakash, wrote a
No, this
letter
is just
2
a
days earlier to Pat Cipollone, counsel to the president, reading in part, "Reprisal against my client for cooperating with a congressional inquiry would be a violation, retaliating against a witness, victim, or an informant. Those who are complicit in this vindictive campaign against my client, whether through action or inaction, shall also be responsible, be that legally or morally." Bakash's letter has not seemed to have any palliative effects on the president's behavior, as Trump attacks escalated.
So the whistleblower is a disgrace to our country, a disgrace. And the whistleblower, because of that, should be revealed. And his lawyer, who said the worst things possible 2 years ago, he should be sued. And maybe for treason. Maybe for treason.
This
But he
week,
should be-
President Trump escaped Washington and lifted off from the south lawn of the White House to take a Veterans Day break over the next several days. Ironically, what mystifies most Washington insiders is their sense of senselessness over Trump's efforts to harm the whistleblower. As Ukraine never did an investigation into Biden and the White House released the desperately needed military funds, few observers believe there is much chance the Republican-controlled Senate will convict on the House's impeachment indictment. Doug Christian, The White House.